We start with cutting onions. So we're going to take 3 large onions like this. We're going to slice them very thinly because when you're frying the onions, the thinner it is, the better it will fry for you. Anyway, cut them as thinly sliced as you can. Try to keep the slices the same size and then put them in a bowl. You're going to add to that sliced onions, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of flour, 1 tablespoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of vinegar. You're not going to add any water whatsoever because the salt is going to help the onions disperse all the water that's in it, so you do not need to add any water, especially since you're frying that onions, because you don't want to add water to an oil that is hot. It's going to make a mess. It's going to burn you. Don't do it. Anyway, so you can also add cumin if you'd like, but we didn't because we don't like cumin on our onions. We also added black pepper grounded, but that's to taste. So whatever, you don't have to add it. You can if you want, but you do not have to. So once you add all of these ingredients together, it will make kind of a paste onto the onions. You see how thinly sliced the onions are? It will make kind of a paste, and then you will just use a fork to mix the onions and the ingredients together. The reason we're saying you're using a fork is because the fork will help peel the onions off each other. So that's why you're using you're using a fork. Once you start mixing them together and mix, leave it for a couple of hours. So the onions should be the last thing you fry, because the onions need to absorb these ingredients that we added to give it that great taste at the end. So, and then throughout those couple of hours, also give it a couple of stirrs, also to make sure that the ingredients go on all the onions. And as you can see, this fork, like when we are mixing everything together to put to get the ingredients throughout the onions, we're using, like I said, a fork. And you see how the fork is splitting the onions from each other? You see now how every peel of onion is by itself? That's exactly what we want, so that when you're frying it, first of all, it's easier to fry, and then you get each onion by itself, which is really good, so that, not one person finishes up all the onions really quickly on you. So that's great. The next thing you want to do is your lentils, because like the onions, lentils take a long time to cook. So that's why we start with the lentils second. So as you can see, my mom is washing the lentils over and over again. Also, these lentils have been soaking from overnight. Also, the other thing we would like to say is rinse these lentils as much as you can. So maybe change the water and, keep it soaking, but change the water every couple of hours, 3 hours or something. We're not going to tell you to wake up overnight to change it, but still, you want to change the water a lot because you don't want a rotten smell to come out of it. That's one. The other reason we change the water is because it helps with bloating. So we all know that beans in general, lentils included, causes bloating. This step, repeating the rinsing and adding much water and making it soak overnight and cleaning it over and over again, reduces bloating. Also, adding cumin reduces bloating as well. So as you can see, the lentil looks a little bigger. It looks like it's been soaking for a long time. Now you know it's ready to cook. The other thing, if you are in a rush and you have guests coming, our advice to you is to boil water and add it to the lentils, really, really hot water. That will cut your cooking time of lentils in half. Now, we're not in a rush, so we're just going to use regular warm water from the tap. And we are going to add, literally, the water is going to be literally on top of the lentils. We're not going to add too much water. You only add too much water when you're cooking the lentils from scratch, when you haven't soaked it this long. But this lentils have been soaking, so you don't need to add that much water. You're going to add just a little water right on top of the lentil. You're going to stop. And then you're also going to keep an eye on it, that when it needs more water while it's cooking, you're going to add more water. Okay? So you're going to see my mom is going to put the water where it's like lukewarm, and she's going to add it to the lentil right on top. To that, you're going to add about a tablespoon of cumin. Most important thing is your cumin. And you're going to add 1 whole onion. My mom cut it in quarters and then cut it small pieces into the into the lentil. And she added 6 cloves of garlic. Now, you don't have to add the onion. We already made a lot of onions, so you don't need to, but this is like we said, authentic Arabic. That's how they do it in the stores in Egypt. So we're adding the onion, and we're adding 6 cloves of garlic, and we're adding 1 tablespoon of cumin. And don't worry about like a lot of cumin, because that will not make it sour or anything, because you're not just making lentils by itself. You're adding to it, like we said, rice, pasta, the onions, the sauce. Everything will cover that cumin sourness taste. The other thing, one more advice, is when you're cooking beans in general, you do not want to add salt in the beginning. The salt is the last thing you add in the cooking process. Okay? Now, this was on high heat. Now you're going to see the water is boiling now, so we're going to put it all the way to lower heat, and we have water running in the kettle. You're going to add, it has to be hot water. If you add cold water, the lentil is going to taste so bad and so like kind of raw, but in the same time cooked. It's going to give you a weird taste, but it has to be hot water. After that, we're moving on to our sauce. So for the sauce, get your blender. We're making stuff easy for you. Some people will tell you you have to grind the onions by itself, grind the garlic by itself. Make your life easier. You can grind them both together. So we're using 1 onion and about 6 or 7 cloves of garlic. We're also going to add salt, pepper, cumin. Most important thing is cumin for the lentils. I'm going to add Indian chili hot pepper, because we like hot peppers. You don't have to. That's optional. You don't have to add the hot peppers. Don't grind the onions so fine. You do want it a little, the onions and garlic to be showing a little bit in the sauce, because it gives it a great taste. And then put your olive oil in the pan, I would say about a tablespoon or a little more. Then dump your onions and garlics into it. Let them color a little bit, turn a little yellow. And you have to keep stirring it. If you leave it, it will burn and it will give you a really bad taste in the sauce. And we're seasoning it with a little bit of the soup mix, about a teaspoon of the soup mix, because we're lenting, so we can't use the chicken bouillon. And then you're going to add like about half a teaspoon of vinegar, but you have to wait until the onion and garlic cook and yellow a little bit before you add this vinegar. And as soon as you add your vinegar, give it a stir or two, and then you go in with your tomato sauce and tomato paste. You cannot wait once you add the vinegar. And then after that, you keep stirring a little bit. After you put in your tomato paste into everything, add some water to get you more sauce, and also because the tomato paste is very thick, so you need to break it up to make it into a sauce. So you need to add a little bit of water, and you keep stirring. Don't stop stirring. And make sure that everything is blended well together. Add your water. We added about a cup of water, and it has to be hot water. It cannot be cold water. While you're cooking the sauce, don't forget to check on your lentils. You see how dry they are? We have to add hot water. It cannot be cold water either. Just add a lot of hot water, keep it on low, and keep it cooking. Now, if you didn't add any condiments in the beginning, you can add it now, like salt, pepper. Like we said, we added the hot chili powder in the beginning, but you can add it now if you didn't. Keep stirring and make sure, cover it until it's done. And don't worry about adding the salt earlier in the sauce because it helps cook the onions faster and make it crunchier, which really tastes very good. Now take your time while you're doing the koshary because koshary is one of the things that takes a long time, but it tastes so good. And taste your sauce to make sure that the salt taste is fine. While that is happening, don't forget to cook your pasta and your rice. If you want a recipe, if you don't know how to make rice, I'm sure everybody knows how to make pasta, but if you don't know how to make rice, check out the recipe on the top right corner. I'm going to leave the link up there. And the pasta, just boil the water with oil, a little bit of oil, a little bit of salt. The oil helps it that if you decide to freeze it later, like if you cook too much and you want to freeze the remainder, you don't throw anything out. Throwing food is never a good idea. So you can just freeze it and the oil will help it when it thaws. It thaws very nicely, like fresh. And the salt, so it doesn't get moldy or it doesn't get bad if it's in the freezer for a long time. While everything is cooking, we're going to make some kind of dressing for the koshary. Basically what you will need is 2 large garlic, like cloves of garlic that are grounded. You're going to add to it about a tablespoon of vinegar, about half a teaspoon of lemon. You're going to add salt to taste, hot chili peppers. You're going to add cumin, about half a teaspoon. And you're also going to add your black pepper, also to taste. And then you're going to add water. You're going to fill up the whole thing with water. This is not necessary for the koshary. This is just like a dressing. We Egyptians love it, but you do not have to add it. Most people can't handle the raw garlic, so you don't have to. Fill up the water with tap water, and once you mix it all together, make sure it's tap water. It cannot be hot water because it will make the lemon go more sour. And then toss it in the fridge to cool down a little bit. Time to fry the onions. Make sure you have a big pot and fill it like a third of the way with frying oil. Also make sure that your oil is really hot. And then when you start to put in the onions, you saw the fire is very low. You cannot have it on high because then all of these bubbles that you see, that's oil, it's going to spill all over the stove. You want it on low, and then you wait until the bubbles go down. You see the bubble going down right now? Once you see the bubbles go down, you can turn it on high again because the onions need to fry on really hot oil and you need the fire to be high. Keep in mind to stir it once every minute so that the onions don't stick together and then some cook and some won't. You see the color where it's coming out right now, where my mom is taking it out? This is a perfect color for it. Okay, another thing, make sure you take it out on a strainer with a paper towel in it because when the oil is absorbed through the paper towel, the strainer will seep air through it and will make it even more crunchy when it dries it out a little more. So make sure it's on a strainer with a paper towel in it. The other thing, do not put the other patches on top of the batch that you just made right now because then it will moist again and it will ruin the fried onions for you. See how beautiful it looks? We usually just eat this by itself. It looks so good. And you just arrange the layers like cake. Pasta goes first, rice, then lentils. Keep in mind, do not add your tomato sauce and do not add your da'a or the garlic sauce, dressing that we made. Those are on the side. Not everybody would like them, so it depends on preference. Also keep in mind you have to drain your lentils. The lentils cannot have any water in it, or the pasta. Nothing can have any water, so make sure it's completely drained, because then it will sog up the rice, it will sog up the pasta itself. It won't really taste good. So as you can see, make sure you split it evenly between the two. Like if you're making 2 trays, if you're making 1 tray, then you're fine. And make sure you distribute it evenly all over the tray, so when somebody takes some, they get some of everything. After that, add in your chickpeas. You can cook the chickpeas yourself or get the canned ones. We got the canned ones because we didn't have cooked chickpeas. It really doesn't make a difference. So the only thing we're going to suggest is make sure you wash the chickpeas over and over again to make sure that all the sauce and everything is gone. Last thing you add on top is the fried onions, or the wardi as we call it. Make sure the sauce is on the side. That is how it's presented in Egypt. The sauce is on the side, and the dressing or is also on the side. Look how beautiful it is, you guys. When you wanna take some, you take it horizontally. Like when you take the cake, you cut all the way down and then you pick up. That's how you do this.
بس بقى بعد ما بتعمل بقى ده كله بيني وبينك بقى بتنزل عليه وتقول يامي. طبعا ده فيه قيمة غذائية بروتين وبتاع. Oh my gosh.
Only if there's like space. It's just
ده جميل جمال. طعمه حلو جدا. لقي بقى. لقي بقى. Oh my.
How many months is she?
حلو خالص والهنا والشفا. يلا تعالوا كلوا معانا.
Before you do it, are
You're
you already recording?
Yep. I'm already rolling.
All right, we're already rolling.
Look at this guy.
We're already rolling. Here we go. First time having this.
I don't always do fried onions, but it's like it smells like them. You're like, oh, it's the full thing today.
I'm in. Got the rice, the chickpeas.
That's fusion.
It's lentils, actually. And chickpeas, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Okay, never
it's the
mind.
chickpea in there. So good.
There's one chickpea that was lost in there. I'm gonna eat it.
I was putting the spaghetti, zucchini noodles on it. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
This is like the last of it, right?
It'll go with anything, I guess.
Oh yeah.
He finished.
Well, the mushrooms are good on it.
What do we get? A thumbs up or a thumbs down? What are we doing?
Experiment I added.
2 thumbs up.
The mushrooms and
Nice. Nice. Okay, we're on.
This tastes really good. I went for seconds.
Ooh. Okay, keep going. You know,
No,
eat.
more?
Eat. Come on.
Don't forget the fried onions. They're the best.
Okay, got it. There you go. What he said.
This is really good.
What's this exactly? It's called Koshary. Good. Awesome.
Yeah, man, it came out really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you back it up a little bit because you're not even in the picture? Back it up.
Okay, I'll do it again.
There you go.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, keep eating, buddy.
Do it if you
I'll
give
keep
me
eating. Yeah, it's on camera. Camera on and just like point at people when they're not watching.
That's just Luna. Don't worry. Okay, there you go. Are you going for seconds?
No, I do it for friends, but I don't do it professionally.
There, say it up, man. Say it out loud, man.
2 thumbs up.
Okay, thank you.